Part 16. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 158. The weekend moonlight bath still provides services to students. Hey, Lulu. It's not your turn to be on duty today, right? Seeing the unexpected visitor walking into the duty room, the seniors of Moonlight Bath were a little surprised. Can you borrow the ingredients and cooking room today? We will pay for it properly. If you want to use it, there's no problem, but what happened? Lulu worked as a waiter at the Moonlight Bath and had never entered the cooking room, so her request immediately aroused the interest of her seniors. I want to give my brother and the others a surprise. Oh? Way 11 is here too. Zioxy. Lulu had no idea that Way 11 would also follow him to the duty room. She had obviously been told to take Ika and Ling to wait outside. Is Wei Zia coming to show off her skills? What? Wei 11, who had just come in, didn't hear what Lulu said. She had no idea why the seniors were looking forward to it so much. Since Xiao 11 saw it, I can't let you go back. Lulu, whose whole body seemed to be exuding a dark aura, took heavy steps and hugged Wei 11 tightly from behind as she turned to run away. Wei 11 has also been there for a long time. The person who is worried about Wei 11 now is Ling, and the person who lets Wei 11 step into the tiger's den is also Ling. Near noon, they came to the Moonlight Bath. Lulu took them to sit down on the empty seats, then asked them to wait here for a while, then turned and went backstage. Not knowing what Lulu was planning, Ling sent an excellent investigator, Wei 11, to infiltrate the interior, but she never expected to return. I deeply regret the loss of Wei 11. Ling covered her eyes sadly to prevent tears from overflowing. There are other guests here, stop acting. Ling's pretentious expression attracted the attention of several students, making Ika across from her sit on pins and needles. Isn't it possible that he was discovered? Wei 11 is also a waiter here, so nothing will happen to her. I'm more concerned about Lulu's plan. It turns out you care about Wei 11. Because nothing will happen to her. Those chess pieces are disposable, Wei 11 is such a poor child. I haven't thought about it that way. It's scary for you to be able to think about it directly. Ika and Ling's attention gradually shifted from the two people disappearing in the background to each other. Let you two wait for a long time. The waiter at the Moonlight Bath came to the table at some point. It doesn't matter. The moment he looked up, Ika paused mid-sentence. The waiter holding the tray with both hands was the excellent investigator they lost, but her appearance was very different now from when she left. That's not a Moon Bath waiter uniform. A pair of black cat ears sprouted from Wei 11's head, and her hands and feet turned into soft balls of flesh. The tube top with a cat face cut out in the middle wraps up the slightly shy breasts, but unfortunately the real role of the cutout is not played. The cat tail stretched out from under the miniskirt and swayed gently with the movements of Wei 11's body. Please taste. She blushed and placed the food on the tray on the table. It's Wei 11. Ika suspected that she was dreaming because the scene in front of her was so unrealistic. Yes, it is. Wei 11 held the tray in front of half of her face, her cute balls trying hard to cover her thin tube top. Why is it like this? Have you been threatened by the organization? Ling seemed to be really grieving and held her shoulders, but of course he was still pretending. Yes, it is. Wei 11 was almost crying. Although there are very few customers at this time of day, strangers will still see this shameful look, with her legs trembling and bent into a pigeon toe shape. What are you talking about? Lulu, wearing the same clothes as Wei 11, poked his head out from behind her. Are you like this too? Ika pressed her forehead speechlessly. Only then did he realize that it was very unacceptable for strangers to see his family dressed up like this. Different from Wei 11, Lulu's breasts are slightly more impressive, and a slight gap can be seen in the hollow of the cat face. This is probably because the tube top has a special effect of squeezing inward. This is borrowed from the preparation room. Luoluo was also very shy. Xiao 11 just happened to know something he shouldn't have known, so he was implicated. Please, please don't dress like this outside, although I admit it's very cute. Aika covered her nose and warned the two girls who didn't know the dark side of the world with a serious face. Hey, that one over there. Ling suddenly stood up and walked towards the boy sitting in the back. Show me your PDA. Did you just take a secret photo? So, that situation will happen. Aika gestured to the poor boy who was sanctioned by Ling Rendao. You don't want your photos to be used by other men to do strange things, right? Strange things. Of course Wei 11 couldn't understand it at her age. Will it be sold outside? It's impossible for anyone to be willing to pay for it. Luoluo only knows this level. It may also be used as a prop to vent dirty desires. Ling, who had destroyed the PDA data, came back. She glanced at Aika. Just say no. How can a boy say it, and why do you say it so easily? Because it's a fact. Because you really did it yourself, so you can't say it? There was a meaningful smile on Ling's face. I wouldn't do that kind of thing to my family. I didn't specify that the person must be a family member. Ling's smile turned into conviction. It's because we were just talking about the two of them. Anyway, you go change clothes first. Wait a moment. Luoluo, who finally understood, blushed and pulled Wei 11 back to the backstage. At this time, more and more customers entered the store. Are you excited? Every man's heart will be moved. I thought this method wouldn't be effective on people like you. What do you mean by someone like me? It's nothing. Anyway, I learned. Don't learn something useless. Luoluo and Wei 11 returned to the dining table after changing into their school uniforms. The guests who had just seen the two of them dressed were all silenced by Ling Yang's actions, so they could enjoy Luoluo's cuisine here with peace of mind. Nothing different. Aika was the first to express his thoughts. Normally, Luoluo prepares all the food at home. Wei 11 and I also learned our cooking methods from Luoluo. Of course there won't be any difference. Ling didn't have anything in particular to express. But the ingredients in Moonlight Bath are much more expensive than at home. I hope you can taste a little different. Luoluo smiled sheepishly while curling her hair. It smells like Luoluo. Wei 11 also held the same opinion as Aika and Ling. Wait a minute, you said the ingredients here are expensive. Ling noticed the important point. A little bit, ahaha. What does it matter? Don't worry about such small things. Aika was indeed filling her stomach with food without a care in the world. This month's expenses have become tight again. Ling originally wanted to add something, but now she has no choice but to give up. By the way, the 2 sets of clothes just now were given to us by our seniors. Luoluo pointed to the 2 paper bags at his feet. It doesn't matter if you wear it at home. Aika muttered. Actually, you want to appreciate it yourself, right? No. My face is red. Tisk. Unbeknownst to Luoluo and Wei 11, Aika once again lost to Ling in the argument. The functions of the Imperial City Defense Bureau have still not returned to normal. 5 days have passed since the headquarters building was unexpectedly attacked by the Nemesis Society. Ruth, take a break. Approaching the command room, the director of the Imperial City Defense Bureau was still sitting at her desk, her eyes never leaving the screen for a moment. How's the progress? She ignored Shun's advice and went straight to the point. Having said what needed to be said, Shun could only sigh. The ground system has basically been restored, and all the 42 injured people are out of danger. Because the systems on the 4 underground floors are all paralyzed, our engineers may be unable to do anything. Can you ask that person to come over? Professor Coconut. It may be difficult to recruit her, if you don't go through the Holy See. Can't you try asking Miss Liuyan to be an intermediary? Well. Shun felt helpless. Master has been completely unreachable recently. He may no longer be in the BZ Empire. It's really nerve-wracking. If it's not repaired as soon as possible. Ruth bit her lower lip. At that time, she did not discover in time that the purpose of the Nemesis Society was the fourth underground floor. Instead, her attention was attracted by the woman who broke into the upper floor alone. The lower level of the ground is the data database of the entire BIS Empire. Population, buildings, military, data backups that include all the information of the BIS Empire are protected layer by layer in the 4 underground floors of the Imperial Capital Defense Bureau. The original data is stored in August. When Shun caught up with the 2 attackers from the association, they had already solved the last level of the 4th underground level. The man among them had a direct conflict with Shun and the national magician who arrived later, while the woman entered the center of the data database. Fortunately, the control room where the data was stored was equipped with a security system that even Ruth didn't know about. The 2 attackers were subdued and are now being held in Petak prison a few kilometers away from here. Is there no result yet on that side? Nothing was said. Who told the BZ Empire to treat criminals kindly? Don't worry about that side for now, just leave it to the people in Petak prison. The most important thing now is the stability of the internal order. This is indeed a bit tricky. Shun scratched his messy gray hair and smacked his lips. If the headquarters building of the Imperial City Defense Bureau was breached to such an extent by 3 members of the Nemesis Society, the self-esteem of the team members would definitely be greatly affected. The current Imperial City Defense Bureau is like a piece of loose sand. The most difficult thing to control is not the cold machinery, but the unpredictable human heart. The large barrier that protects Shimizuki Academy can prevent the approach of monsters and can also resist physical and magical attacks from the outside world. After failing due to an unknown accident a few months ago, the current magic formula has been improved into a multi-point build. It is connected to each other by a complex magic structure to form a network, which will not cause chain collapse due to a single damage, and can also be controlled at any node. A bird and beast covered in brilliant feathers entered the impregnable barrier and stopped by the window of the principal's room. Principal Phyllis removed the small cylinder from the bird's legs. Sure enough, this ancient method is more secure to use. I am also an elderly person. If a man in his 20s says something like this, people who don't know will take it as a joke and laugh it off. But this woman was once the goddess of war known as the Aurora of the Gods in the cross-border war. Although in this era, cross-border wars have become a long history. Principal Phyllis poured the small chip in the cylinder into the palm of her hand. Since this method is used, it means it shouldn't be very smooth. She had already vaguely guessed the ending. But it doesn't have much to do with me. Just wish yourself well. She put the small chip into the aperture in her palm, then took out a ring and stuffed it into the small cylinder. Deal closed. The unknown beautiful bird and beast flew high into the sky with the small cylinder, and left the great barrier from the surveillance blind spot of Shiyu Academy. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 159. Recently, the atmosphere in the class has been a bit impetuous. During class, everyone seemed a little absent-minded, but they became active after class. As the class monitor, Chiyuke played no role at all. On the contrary, she was the most excited one. As soon as get out of class time came, she disappeared from the classroom. As a result, Lugo worried about the future of the twin class instead of Chiyuke. I heard that Shiyu Academy will hold a large-scale event recently, probably because of this reason. Aika happened to hear Lugo's whisper and reminded her. In the new semester, everyone's seats have not been changed. The seats in the classroom are not full to begin with. Everyone chooses their own seat at will, and there will basically be no changes. I have also heard about the event. It is said that it will be held every year, but this year it seems to be held earlier than in previous years. Because this time happens to be the time for freshmen to enroll. We have also become seniors. Ika propped her chin up with the back of her hand and turned her head to look out the window. The scenery outside the window is still the same as last year, but before you know it, you have welcomed your descendants. There's no real sense. Ling didn't seem particularly interested in the new students. We don't have many opportunities to interact with first-year students. Speaking of which, we don't know many seniors. To break it down, the student union, the big library, the discipline team, the moonlight bath, and the seniors among them are all connected in a special common environment. If you lose this special common environment, you will also lose this connection. In other words, if there had been even a small deviation in past decisions, we would not have built the network of relationships we have today. Why does that activity have something to do with the admission of new students? Wei 11, who was silent, kept tilting her head and thinking about Ika's unintentional words, but still didn't understand the connection. Maybe he is preparing to show the characteristics of Shimizuki Academy to the new students. Ika was just guessing, and he didn't know the specific content of the event. In that case, I can only participate in this event 3 times at most. Luoluo sighed regretfully, we have already missed it once. When you say that, it's really. Ling was also a little unwilling. Just enjoy it this year and next year, along with last year's share. Ika still has that optimistic and casual attitude. The short recess time passed like this, and Chiuke returned to the classroom with the bell ringing. Chiuke looks very busy. Being both class president and student council president will certainly not be easy. Before the instructor came to the classroom, Ika and Ling looked at Chiuke's back and talked quietly. They didn't notice that Chiuke's erect ears twitched back and forth. Immediately afterwards, the instructor walked into the classroom and announced the start of the class. After the first class ended, Chiuke did not run out of the classroom, but strode towards the place where the 4 people gathered. Yo! Seeing Chiuke's uncharacteristically serious expression, Ika stiffly raised her hand and greeted her. This was the first time she talked to Chiuke today. Well. She rested her chin and scanned the 4 people's bodies one after another with a scrutinizing gaze. What happened? When Chiuke looked at her, Luoluo looked away awkwardly. Okay, Chiuke seemed to have made some kind of decision, the decision is yours. She raised her arm in an imposing manner and then waved her finger down. Eh? What? Luoluo didn't know what stimulated Chiuke. He looked around and found helplessly that Chiuke's target was him. Lolo, come and organize a committee. She swung her big furry tail from side to side and held Luoluo's hands tightly. Luoluo still looked confused. Ling Qing came up behind Chiuke and gently lifted her tail. This action made Chiuke reflexively let go of Luoluo's hand and jump up high on the spot. What are you doing? It's no secret that her tail seems to be her weak point. You should speak more clearly. What is that organizing committee? That's it, the organizing committee of the festival. No one from our class has signed up yet. Chiuke doesn't seem to be stimulated when he holds his tail, but Ika still can't understand why there is such a difference. The festival is that large-scale event that happens once a year that is rumored in the class. Wei 11 immediately connected the topics discussed during class just now. That's right, that's it, Chiuke clapped his hands. What's wrong? Don't you all know? We transferred here in the next semester and didn't participate in that year's activities. Luoluo helped Wei 11 explain. Ah, I forgot. Chiuke tapped his head lightly, it feels like we have spent a long time together. I only think of it at times like this. Wei 11 nodded, usually not paying attention to such small problems. Now I have to explain it from the beginning. There was still a short period of time before the next class, and Chiuke told everyone all the details of the festival. The so-called Moonflower Festival is the annual feast of Shigetsu Academy. The event lasts 3 days and consists of 2 parts. The first day is an ordinary school festival. Each class will hold unique activities, and private team stalls are also allowed. The second and third days were the unique competition of Shimizuki Academy, Maze Exploration. Using enchantment magic to create and replicate a simulated environment, students can form teams of 2 to participate. This concludes the brief explanation. I hurriedly took over the position of student council president when I entered school. As a result, the organization of that class was a bit chaotic. Recalling the scene at that time, Chiuke wiggled his ears in embarrassment. But everyone is still looking forward to it. The last one was definitely a success. Otherwise, how could such a result come about? Because there are many people who are more capable than me, so this time I will make good use of the organizing committee and hold the most exciting Moonflower Festival before the end of my term. Chiuke, you just said use. Luoluo stared at Chiuke with suspicious eyes. It was a slip of the tongue, that was a slip of the tongue. She waved her hand with a sneer and tried to fool him. You won't continue to be the student council president next year. Aika remembered she had just said before the end of the term. This position should be reserved for the freshmen. I will probably take over Xiaoyaya or Xiao's position. Teilua Senpai is also preparing to leave the discipline team. Ling suddenly mentioned the person who was not here now. Both you and Xiaoyaya will be very busy this semester. Chiuke suddenly said this. Why? Ling couldn't think of any reason to connect himself with Senior Tairuya. Don't you know? The seniors in the assault department are responsible for providing one-on-one guidance to the junior students. Xiaoyaya chose you when registering this year. Eh? What does this mean? Ling couldn't help but stood up and found that the classmates in the class were looking at her in surprise as she acted strangely. Ling immediately sat down with a blushing face. In the afternoon, you will form a team with Xiaoyaya. Aren't the classrooms in the assault department divided by school year? Have you forgotten the practical lesson? I had no idea such a thing happened. When she was in the discipline team, Teilua Senpai never mentioned this matter once. That's great. I also want to form a team with Xiaoyaya, and now I'm in a team with Xiao. They are all people who know each other. Aika glanced at Wei 11. If she were in such an environment, it would definitely be much easier. How about it, Luoluo? Come and organize the committee. Chiuke waited expectantly for Luoluo's answer. What exactly will the organizing committee you mentioned do? Luoluo was still a little undecided. Just arrange the activities that our class will exhibit at the Moonflower Festival, and then attend the meeting of the organizing committee hosted by the student union on time. It doesn't sound like anything complicated. What do you think, brother? Luoluo looked at Aika with questioning eyes. If she really wanted to do it, she wouldn't be so hesitant. Aika knows this. Go and give it a try, it's a rare opportunity. But, we still need to ask for permission from everyone in the class, right? Everyone agrees. Chiuke immediately answered. How come? We came to you after discussion. If you take this position, you will spend less time with everyone. Luoluo couldn't say such willful words. She hoped that Aika could help refuse, but he did not respond to her expectations. Class is over, everyone should return to their seats. The next class was Instructor Letika's World History class. She always focused the students' attention instead of ringing the bell. Lolo, please think about it again. Chiuke took Luoluo's hand and shook it up and down, then hurriedly ran back to his seat. Chiuke, don't run in the classroom. Yeah, sorry. In a common scene, Chiuke was scolded by teacher Letika again. Hey, why did you just agree to let her go? During class, Ling covered her face with a book and quietly scolded Aika, who was sitting in front. Wouldn't it be nice to take this opportunity to exercise? She obviously doesn't want to go. I know. You are really able to do such a thing without changing your expression. Ika admitted so straightforwardly that Ling had nothing to say. The two of you over there, can we exchange feelings after class? Letica looked at the side with a slightly angry smile, and the class suddenly burst into laughter. Feel sorry. Ika looked at Lugo beside her. Although her eyes were fixed on the books on the table, her thoughts had already drifted away, and she seemed not to even notice the noise in the class. Wei 11, who was sitting in front of Ika, secretly looked back at Ika and Ling. Instructor Letica started to continue the class, and Ling also listened to the class attentively. After being told this by Ling, Ika was a little suspicious of whether his approach was too tough. If she didn't let Lugo go to that committee, she would definitely do what she wanted. There is still a chance of redemption. However, Lugo did not leave Ika time to regret. After class, she walked straight to Chiuke's seat. I'm willing to do that. This is an answer that satisfies everyone. In that class, she didn't listen at all to what Instructor Letica said, and of course she wasn't thinking about how to respond. Lugo just looked at the book in a daze. What brought her back to reality was the bell ringing for the end of get out of class. She acted like this without thinking about anything. Without looking for any reason, Lugo just put the result in front of herself first. As for the next things, she was ready to think about it later. Very good. What makes you so happy? Before teacher Letica left the classroom, Chiuke's voice attracted her. The organizing committee member of our class decided it was Lugo. Zuko wagged his tail and submitted a report to teacher Letica. Will Lugo do it? Then I can rest assured. Instructor Letica smiled and put her palms together. She was also very satisfied with the result. Everyone, please listen carefully to Lugo's arrangements. Chiuke announced the news to the whole class and received a strong response from everyone. That's good. Lugo, who was supported by so many people, showed a faint smile. Ah, that's right. Chiuke, who had just stepped out of the classroom door, suddenly remembered something and turned back to the classroom. When you are too busy, you can find someone to help you. With an obvious hint, Chiuke gave Lugo this suggestion. Yeah, I'll do it. This suggestion made Lugo's expression light up instantly. As expected. Chiuke smiled slyly. Is this acceptable? I already accepted it. No, I should ask, so you can fully accept it, right? I'll try my best. Lugo once again answered in the affirmative, only this time, she had a clear will. Yeah, that's a happy decision. Chiuke deliberately let Ika and the others hear his words, and ran out of the classroom when teacher Letica wasn't paying attention. Lugo returned to his seat holding his chest. Just as Ika wanted to talk to her, Zixi and Abby gathered around, so he had to give up the idea. If Lugo hadn't adopted such a decisive attitude just now, there might be another ending now. Ika's mood was a little complicated. Lolo, have you decided what we want to show? Abby looked anxious for answers. What program did our class prepare last year? If you can know the content of last year's display, it can be used as a reference. Last year. You don't seem to have done anything special. Because we have just entered school, first-year students are required to participate voluntarily. We mainly went to visit the activities of the senior class. I remember that someone took a lot of photos at that time. Wait a moment. Zixi said and walked away, returning with a borrowed PDA in her hand. That's probably it. She placed the PDA on Lugo's table, and the other three people gathered around her table. It feels so lively. The first bit of information revealed in the photo is this feeling. Lugo's fingers slowly slid through the subsequent photos. Is this person Tailua-senpai? Ling suddenly noticed the familiar long red hair. Senior Lilith is also here. Next to Tairua-senpai stood Lilith-senpai, both of whom were wearing theatrical costumes. What their class is showing is drama. It's really hard to turn the classroom into a stage. Can the display location only be in the classroom? Luoluo suddenly realized this problem. It seems that class displays are limited to indoors, but there are many attractions outside the teaching building. Abby found photos of the great outdoors. It's almost the same as that time. Ling sighed in a low voice. It was the first time for all four to attend the festival, but these photos reminded them of that night in PFA Town. In terms of atmosphere, the two are indeed surprisingly similar. This is. The photo below shows a huge fire burning. This is the bonfire party held on the first night of the Moon Festival. Look here. Following the place pointed by Abby's finger, there was a figure dancing. Because the light was too dark, the picture was not very clear. Actually, it's just a small social gathering. Zixi added this. As a result, after looking at all the photos, Luoluo didn't come up with any novel ideas. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 160. Afternoons are class time for specialized subjects. What did you do in the past time? Aika arrived at Professor Kokina's research room on time, but she was so criticized. Isn't it just class time now? It doesn't mean you were late for class, but what about the design drawings I asked you to hand over to me for inspection today? Isn't this a complete lack of writing? Professor Kokina slapped the neat drawings in the book on the table. I'm sorry about this. Aika was speechless. In Professor Kokina's first lecture to Aika as a professor last week, she asked him to use the weekend to draw a simplified structural diagram of the predator. The predators that surprisingly succeeded in the August exercise, 6 small floating cannons, were made by Professor Kokina. Isn't 2 days enough? Professor Kokina asked seriously. I have long said that if you want to get the results you want, you must work hard. I thought it would cause such a commotion in August. You already understand a little bit. Professor Kokina didn't know from what source she got what happened in August, and she also knew that Aika used the predator in that exercise. You are not a genius, so you have to put in more time and energy. Every word she said left a deep mark on Aika's heart. Being scolded by the little girl, Aika couldn't even raise her head. Yes. Really, where did all that energy go to? Professor Kokina didn't want to put it in such a serious tone, but she had never been a tutor and had no idea how to teach students. And the current situation is urgent. The power of mechanical alchemy has the potential to reverse the situation. If its power can be used correctly, it may be able to break the current deadlock. Mixed with some of her own little thoughts, Professor Kokina knew that she was a little too hasty. There was silence between the two for a short while, and time passed slowly. Professor Kokina suddenly sighed. Sorry, I went too far. No, it's really my own fault. Because of all kinds of things getting mixed up, I've become a little lax in my studies. In short, let's take it step by step. I can't be in a hurry. This sentence was said to Aika, but it seemed to be admonishing himself. I have wasted so much time, and I will use twice as much energy to make up for it. Come back. Oh. This is also my first time to experience the feeling of being a tutor. Please give me your guidance this semester. Professor Kokina bowed her head to Aika. Please enlighten me, this statement is a bit strange. Aika smiled after returning the gift. I have been staying with you for several months, and even lived here, and now I say such things. There is something strange about it? Professor Kokina, who pretended to be serious, couldn't help laughing. Ling walked into the second-grade classroom of the assault department with hesitant steps. Ling, have you heard? As soon as the classroom door was opened, the little girl ran to Ling excitedly. She is Safra from the Aries class, and she is the first new friend Ling made in the assault department. Because Ling happened to sit next to her during her first class last week, and we became familiar with her while chatting. You were chosen by the third grader, Tairua Senpai. Tairua Senpai, who is also the vice president of the student union and the leader of the discipline team, is revered among the girls in the lower grades. Ling has long known this fact. Well, I heard about it from Chiuke, the president. Has this matter spread throughout the assault department classroom so quickly? Ling doesn't want to spread the news. It would be easier to say that no one knows about it. Although at the beginning of the winter vacation, Ling was invited by Senior Tairuya and settled their differences with her in a cafe outside Shimazuki Academy. But when Ling faced Senior Tairuya, his attitude still seemed a bit stiff. If you accept her guidance, you will definitely gain a lot. This is a rare opportunity. Thank you, I will cherish it. Ling didn't want to continue to focus everyone's attention on this topic, nor did she want to become the envy of others. Why is it me? She cried secretly in her heart. Although there is indeed a deep connection with Tairua Senpai, that is only a conclusion drawn from one's own perspective. This situation often occurs in relationships. Even things that you take for granted are insignificant in the eyes of the other person. In Tairua Senpai's world, I am just one of her juniors. To be more precise, I am one of the juniors who had conflicts. Other than that, there is no difference from anyone else. Ling, Safra, why are you all standing here? Chiuke, who arrived at the classroom late, was blocked by two people at the door of the classroom. Ah, President, I'm sorry. Safra quickly pulled Ling to the side. Hey, Chiuke, do you know you are already late? Before she even stepped into the classroom, she was suddenly lifted up from behind. Teacher Wilbur? I'm sorry. The instructor of the assault division, Wilbur, is completely different from his innocent appearance on the inside. Being able to lift Chiuke easily and throw it into the classroom with one hand is enough to prove this point. Hurry up and sit down, classmates Ling and Safra. Instructor Wilbur, who was holding the roll call book, showed a kind smile to the two girls standing by the door. Ugh, butt hurts. Chiuke, who was thrown into the classroom, climbed up from the ground with his big furry tail hanging down. Student Chiuke, it's not over yet. Instructor Wilbur walked past her. After the class is over, please stay with me for a while. Good luck. Martial arts prosper. Ling and Safra felt guilty and sent heartfelt prayers as they passed by her. Wei 11 did not receive special treatment from her tutor in the barrier department. At this point, Wei 11 was very grateful to her. This was the second time that I walked into the second grade classroom of the barrier department alone, and unlike the first time, all eyes were not focused on me. When I introduced myself before, my voice was too low, so I don't know if everyone heard me. But the instructor didn't let her say it a second time, so she naturally gave up. I haven't said a word to my classmates in the barrier department yet. Not knowing which seats had been pre-booked according to unspoken rules, Wei 11 could only walk cautiously towards the seat she had sat in for the first time. But that place is now occupied by strange classmates. Wei 11 stopped. The other party is a small group composed of 4 girls. One of the faces, Wei 11, looked familiar. He was a classmate in the Gemini class. I remember his name was Ronak. Wei 11 wanted to ask her for help, but she seemed to be chatting happily with the others. She probably cared more about her relationship with the other 3 than herself. The hesitant Wei 11 could only stand there blankly. There was not much time left before class started. Latecomers entered the classroom one after another, leaving fewer and fewer empty seats. Classmate Wei 11, Ronak, who had been facing the door, accidentally turned around and immediately noticed the striking pure white. Why are you still standing here? That. Just as Way 11 was about to muster up the courage to answer, 3 other strange girls also noticed her. Is she also in the twin class? I remember she came during the last class last week. One of the girls asked Ronak in a slightly arrogant tone. Student Way 11 went home because of something and didn't make it to the first class. It turns out her name is Way 11. My voice was too soft when I introduced myself, so I still don't know her name. The other 2 girls laughed at the words of the proud girl. The courage Way 11 finally gathered was extinguished by their laughter. She half opened her mouth, but could not say a word. She has been looking at us. She must have something to say. The arrogant girl had already noticed Way 11's strange behavior. If Ronak hadn't mentioned it, she would have turned a blind eye. Classmate Way 11, what's the matter? Ronak walked up to Way 11 and lowered his body slightly. My seat. When she was face to face with a familiar classmate, Way 11 managed to squeeze out her voice. Ronak didn't understand Way 11's words immediately. She raised her head and looked around the almost full classroom, then held her cheek and recalled it. You're not saying you want to sit there, are you? What's the reason? The arrogant girl also came over. When you first entered the classroom, weren't there still many empty seats? She heard the conversation between the 2 and raised her eyes. That is. Annabelle, this child is very timid. She is only 12 years old. Ronak charged at the proud girl with a reproachful tone. Wow, no way. This answer seemed to be beyond her expectation. I thought she just looked smaller, but turns out she is really a child. It is said that she is a genius girl, and she is in the same grade as us. This is really incredible. The arrogant girl put her hand to her mouth to hide her astonishment, but, even if you are a child, I will not give up my seat without telling you a reason. Annabelle, why are you suddenly becoming serious? That's right, this kid is almost crying because of you. The other 2 girls suddenly sided with Way 11. You don't think the seats here are fixed, right? Ronak guessed the reason why Way 11 had not said anything. The seats here are not fixed. It's more like first come, first served. Obviously it's just a small problem, but Annabelle said it seems to be very deep. That's right. The 2 girls touched Way 11's hair, but there was no thorn in their words like the arrogant girls. What that sister meant was that you can sit down as long as you use an empty seat. So it's not that she took your seat, but because you didn't come as early as she did. Ronak patiently explained the arrogant girl's words to Way 11. But, other positions, there are also people who want to. That won't happen. The arrogant girl waved her hand. As long as you sit down, no one will compete with you. The students here shouldn't even understand this kind of etiquette. In case something unexpected happens, you just need to come to the sister. That's right, Ainveer will definitely help you get it back. Hey! Why did it suddenly become my business? The arrogant girl angrily drove the 2 girls who agreed with her away from Way 11. Anyway, if you have any difficulties here, just come to us. Ronak touched Way 11's head for the last time and then stood up. Ika is not here, so it doesn't matter if you come to trouble us. I won't be responsible. What does it matter? The 2 of them returned to their seats as they talked. The 2 girls ran away somewhere, and the school bell had already rang. Classmate Way 11, give me your school bag. Seeing that Way 11 still didn't move, Ronak stretched out his hand to her. Way 11 hesitantly handed the school bag in her hand to Ronak. She took Way 11's school bag to the seat at the back and placed it on the table. Then that seat is yours. She clapped her hands and brought Way 11 to the seat. If there are other people's things on the table or chair, it's best not to sit on them. If not, you can also put your own things on it. The instructor's scolding came from outside the classroom door, and the 2 girls who ran away were brought into the classroom dejectedly. It's those 2 idiots' own fault. The proud girl didn't even notice that they ran away because of her. Ahaha. Ronak took advantage of the instructor's attention to the two girls and hurriedly sat back in his seat. Wei 11 sat down on her seat. The arrogant girl, classmate Ainveer, turned her head to look at her, then immediately looked back. I have been helped. It was the first time I talked to a classmate in this class, although the content was not like an ordinary chat between girls. Although that classmate Ainveer had a harsh tone, he was a good person. At first, she was really frightened and speechless, but now I feel warm in my heart when I think about it. The two girls had now finished enduring the instructor's lecture and returned to their seats. They were a little moved when they were fighting against Annabelle for their own sake. If Ronak had pretended not to notice him, none of this would have happened. This must also be fate. There were relatively few students in the pharmacy department classroom, so Lugo easily found an empty seat and sat down. Can I sit next to you? A gentle boy asked Lugo, who had just sat down. Lugo raised his head slightly and saw a strange face, not a classmate from the twin class. Please feel free to. Thanks. After the boy bowed his head and thanked her, he sat down on the seat next to Lugo. Lugo is still thinking about the Moonflower Festival. After today's class, there will be a collective meeting of the organizing committee, and the time has been designated on the school bulletin board. I may come back a little late today. Lugo's fingers typed this line of text on the screen, but their fingers stopped at the send key. That notice can be seen by all students, and he is no exception. After hesitating for a moment, she deleted the text message. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 161. After the specialized subject class ended, Lugo packed up his books and got up to go to the organizing committee meeting room in the office building. Classmate Lugo, please wait a moment. When his name was suddenly called from behind, Lugo turned around in confusion. The boy who had been sitting next to him during this class waved. Excuse me, what's the matter? The designated time was coming soon, and Lugo was a little anxious. He didn't know why the boy stopped him. I'm Brad Roche from the Aries class. Do you remember this name? Lugo vaguely remembered hearing this name somewhere, but she didn't express anything to the boy. It seems the answer is no. The boy who called himself Brad Rossi scratched his cheek in embarrassment. I am also an organizing committee member, and I happened to see your name on the roster. Lugo lowered her guard a little, and she remembered that she had indeed seen this name on the organizing committee roster. Because they were a rare family with a surname, Lugo paid a little attention. I'm going to the conference room too, let's go together. Okay, all right. Since the other party was not a suspicious person, there was no reason to refuse, so Lugo reluctantly agreed to his request. Great. I'm worried that I can't find a location in the conference room and I don't have much time left. His expression looked happy. It was also my first time going there. It doesn't matter. It will be much more efficient if two people search together. Lugo followed him a short distance away, and the two walked towards the office building together. Ling walked directly into the moonlight bath after class, where Aika was already waiting for her. Tonight's waiter duties happened to be Lugo and Wixi's turn. Lugo took leave due to the organizing committee meeting, so Wixi was the only one working hard here. The other seniors who had nothing to do also helped out. Aika, who came here in advance, thanked them on behalf of her sister. Lugo also helps us a lot in normal times. There is no need to ask my brother to express his thanks for such small things. Lugo has always received rave reviews at Moonlight Bath, and the seniors here are all very good people, so Aika can safely entrust her sister here. How long will that meeting last? You need to ask the people in the student union about this. Ling sat down opposite Aika, and Wei 11, who was wearing a Moonlight Bath waiter uniform, came over and prepared to order for the two of them. Just the same as usual. Aika was as casual as ever. I'll change things up a bit. Ling took the menu from Wei 11's hand. While Wei 11 was free, Ika stopped her. Wei 11, did anything good happen today? Eh? No. No. She quickly put the PDA she was using to order in front of her red cheeks, but it was too late. You were secretly laughing while you were working just now. It doesn't look like that. It doesn't matter, the guests want to see more of your smile. Wouldn't it be weird? If you can always come to work with such a smile, the performance here will definitely double or triple. Thank you, thank you. I ordered a smile. Eh? What? Ling put down the menu and suddenly said this. I ordered it for this gentleman. She gestured please to Ika. Brother Ika. Wei 11 looked at Ika nervously, obviously reluctant. You should order carefully and don't delay her work. Eh? Don't you thank me for my kindness. Brother Ika. Wei 11 hugged the menu tightly to her chest and seemed to have made some mental preparations. Is this, okay? The corners of her mouth raised slightly, revealing a healing smile like an angel. Ika gulped. Very, very cute. There was a low cheer from all around, and many guests sitting in the best seats were lucky enough to witness this sweet smile that could relieve the fatigue of the day. The already red cheeks became hot due to the heckles. Wei 11 covered her face with the menu and lowered her head deeply. Yes, I'm sorry. I made you see something strange. Then he ran backstage in a panic. Wait a minute. Ling's outstretched hand didn't catch her. I haven't placed an order yet. Even though she covered it with her hands, Ika couldn't hold back her laughter. It's your own fault. Tisk. Ling glared at him fiercely, and Ika immediately put on a serious expression. Finally, with the help of other waiters, Ling completed the order. Sorry, I'm late. Luoluo hurriedly opened the door and walked into the store, immediately attracting the attention of a group of customers. The number of customers here has been increasing instead of decreasing, probably because I believe that the other absent waitress will come back responsibly. Luoluo, that's very helpful. Now is the busiest time. The senior backstage stretched out his head and said hello to her. Luoluo noticed Ika and Ling sitting in familiar positions. She nodded slightly in greeting and then walked into the backstage. Where's Xiao 11? Wei 11's voice was not heard in the store just now, so she asked as soon as she walked into the backstage. There it is. The seniors pointed to the corner of the locker room, where Wei 11 was sitting with her head bowed, a suppressed black aura exuding from deep within her body. What happens? It was very rare for Wei 11 to look like this, so Luoluo asked the seniors very worriedly. But after knowing the real reason why she became like this, Luoluo could do nothing but regret. As a result, Luoluo helped Wei 11 finish all the work for the second half of today. After admiring Wei 11's sweet smile, the customers were partially satisfied, but Luoluo's figure at work still kept them in the store. And Wei 11 stayed until the moonlight bath closed before walking out of the dressing room. Ika and Ling went home first after dinner, which was Luoluo's request. Xiao 11, thank you for your hard work. Luoluo, who had changed into his school uniform, also left the locker room immediately. Go back. I don't know if it's to seek a sense of security, but Wei 11 likes to hold Luoluo and Ling's hands when walking. Today is no exception. The sky has turned completely dark, and the street lights on both sides of the school path are lit one after another. When I go back, I'll help you teach your brother and sister Ling a lesson. It doesn't matter. Wei 11 shook her head gently. I'm very happy. Does that look like happiness? Luoluo doubted his intuition. No, that's just because of other guests. Wei 11's words were intermittent, and Luoluo was completely used to it. Brother Ika praised me, he seems to like it very much. The power in Luoluo's hands seemed to increase. You mean, smile, right? Wei 11 nodded slightly. The strength in my hands relaxed a little. You do look cute when you smile. Lolo, you too. I can't do this kind of thing at all. Ahaha, I'm not very good at laughing. Lolo suddenly said embarrassedly, when I look in the mirror, I always feel something strange. There's nothing strange about it. Yeah. Brother Ika must think so too. Really? Lulu's voice became a little deeper. Is that what my brother really thinks? By the way, Lulu, this afternoon. Wei 11 suddenly started talking to Lulu about being helped by a small group of 4 girls in the afternoon. Wei 11 rarely talked about things related to new friends, and Lulu also became interested. As a result, because Wei 11 spoke in a very slow tone, the story was not finished until she walked to the door of her house. Lulu, are you still awake? When Lulu was standing by the window looking at the sparse stars in the night sky, Ika's voice sounded outside the door. As she walked past the full-length mirror, she adjusted her light pajamas. Brother, please come in. Her room is usually tidy, so there is no need to tidy it up in a hurry when she comes to visit unexpectedly like this. Excuse me. Ika walked into Lulu's room without hesitation. The relationship between the two is such that there is no need to worry about distance. It's so late, is there anything else? Can't you come if you don't have anything to do? I don't know whether it was intentional or unintentional, but Ika answered her question with what Lulu said a few days ago. Brother, I'm angry. Lulu puffed up her cheeks and sat down beside her bed. You're kidding, actually I just want to ask about the organizing committee. Didn't my brother ask me to do it? But now I'm starting to worry. Actually, I don't really want you to go. There is no use regretting now. My sister will never be found again after being thrown away. Although he said this, a smile appeared on Lulu's face. Time has become less. There was a loneliness in her voice. During this time, she rarely had the chance to go home with everyone. Moreover, Lulu must always keep the progress of the class in mind, and he can no longer do some of his own things. I will get you back. But the premise is wrong, right? How do you understand that I abandoned you? You can leave your sister alone in the conference room and still have so much fun with Xiao 11. That's because Ling. I thought you would come to pick me up. Ika really didn't expect this, and he was immediately speechless. Feel sorry. It doesn't matter, someone sent me to the door of the moonlight bath. Chiuke and the others. No, he's a boy from Aries' class, the organizing committee member of his class. As if he was telling Ika on purpose, Lulu secretly took a look at his reaction. That's great. We became close to other people so quickly. However, Ika did not perform as she wanted. Lulu was a little bit disappointed. If you have any difficulties, just discuss it with everyone. Chiuke also said in the classroom that you can ask for help, so you're welcome to come. Having finished what she wanted to tell Lulu, Ika stood up and prepared to go back to her room. Elder brother. Lulu seemed to have something else to say. But when Ika looked at her, she shook her head to herself. Fine. She clutched her arm tightly and forced a smile. By the way, if you still want to stay because of the organizing committee's activities, I will pick you up. Don't you need it? Need. In fact, Lulu was very resistant to answering this question in front of him, but subconsciously he was afraid of losing this opportunity because of his trivial self-esteem. What he thought was a shameless answer blurted out. Lulu pursed her lips tightly and looked towards her feet to cover up. So be it. Ika didn't say much to her strange look. The sound of closing the door reached Lulu's ears a few seconds later, and she raised her head cautiously. She obviously hoped that he could leave here as soon as possible, but when the result was as she wished, the feeling of emptiness spread in her heart. What on earth am I doing? Luoluo sat on the ground holding his legs and buried his head deeply in his knees. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 162. The Moonflower Festival will be held in 2 weeks, that is, in early April. During the meetings of the organizing committee, no mandatory requirements were imposed on the preparation time for each class. But if you don't start preparing now, it will end up being a hasty mess. In order to avoid such a situation, Lolo came to seek guidance from instructor Letica. Aren't classes suspended now? You can organize the students in the class to start preparations at any time. Instructor Radhika answered her questions concisely and understandably. However, the current exhibition content has not been decided yet. It was my first time to take on this kind of leadership responsibility, and it would have been faster to get answers from Chiuke. But this task was given to her, and Luoluo believed that it must be completed in her own way. Instructor Letica is a graduate of Shiyu Academy. She has organized many Moonflower festivals, so Lolo came to her office first. The content on display can be voted on by the whole class. Instructor Letica immediately gave specific suggestions. Other classes should also use this method to decide. Vote. The Moonflower Festival is an event that requires everyone to work together to succeed, so the activities on display must be acceptable to everyone, so that we can unite our strength. Luoluo could understand this truth immediately after hearing it. The reason why she was at a loss was another reason. I don't know if everyone will listen to me. Just organize a small class assembly like Chiuke did, and then bring this matter up. Everyone in the class recommended you to become an organizing committee member, so show more confidence. Instructor Letica gave a thumbs up to the confused Lolo. Can I just use my name to ask everyone to stay for a while when school is over? It doesn't have to be when school is over. As long as everyone is in the classroom, you can start at any time. But, Teacher Letica added, you can also inform everyone to come to the classroom to discuss it at a certain time. That gives you enough time to prepare, right? Well, I understand. Luoluo briefly sorted out what Teacher Letica said, and now it is clear what needs to be done. However, the difficulty of thinking and doing cannot be compared. Before entering the classroom, Luoluo was mentally prepared to have all the eyes of the class focused on him. But when he stretched his hand towards the classroom door, his legs began to tremble unnaturally. Take a deep breath, take a deep breath. Luoluo took a few deep breaths as he muttered to himself, and his heartbeat gradually slowed down. Aren't you going in? The mood that finally settled down was shaken again by the voice coming from behind. Brother? When did you get here? The startled Luoluo turned around and found that it was Ika standing behind him, forgetting to hide his high mood at the moment. Don't be nervous, I just came back and didn't hear anything. Luoluo, who looked like this, probably had something he didn't want her to know, so Ika raised his hands to reassure her. It took a lot of effort to make up my mind. Luoluo muttered softly. I'll go in first. If you're nervous, just take a deep breath. I know. Brother, please leave me alone. Luoluo pushed Ika into the classroom with all his strength, and unknowingly, he followed him into the classroom. I originally thought I would hesitate for a while, but it has become this situation, so I might as well. Luoluo took a deep breath again as Ika said, and walked up to the podium with slightly stiff steps. Everyone. She worked hard to weave her words, please be quiet for a moment, I have something to tell you. Are you going to start preparing for the Moonflower Festival? I'm just waiting for the words from the organizing committee member. Hey, have the activities been decided? Other classes have already started purchasing materials. Are there any jobs related to manual labor? Oh, it's finally time. The excitement in the noisy classroom remained unabated, but the topics began to converge in the direction Luoluo hoped. I thought that what was waiting for me would be silent embarrassment and unclear looks, but it didn't feel like that at all. There is no problem if this continues. The confidence and motivation in Luoluo's heart are completely ignited. Looking around the classroom, there were no absent students in the class, and everyone returned to their seats. Because they were classmates who had been together for half a year, Luoluo didn't feel much pressure. Sorry, everyone, actually the specific display activities have not been decided yet, but don't worry, I just want to collect opinions now. Is there anything you want to do? Democratic voting? This is a good idea. Ling took the lead in supporting Luoluo's opinion. Immediately, other voices of approval gradually sounded. Luoluo turned on the big screen in front of the classroom. Then students who have ideas, please raise your hands. She began to tally the opinions of her classmates and displayed them side by side on the big screen. Aika watched with relief as Luoluo collected everyone's opinions in an orderly manner, believing that his decision to push her up must be correct. In fact, when he was in the corridor just now, he saw Lolo leaving teacher Letika's office from a distance, and he easily knew the reason why Lolo went there. Oh, not bad. Ling poked Aika's back with the tip of her pen from behind. What did you do? I didn't do anything. Really? This is the result of Luoluo's own efforts. I am not qualified to take credit for it. That's right, because it's Luoluo. There were not many students in the twin classes, so it did not take too long to collect all the optional activities. Restaurants, haunted houses, character costumes, art exhibitions, concerts, there are really all kinds of ideas. Aika looked at the options listed on the big screen. There were all kinds of options, including activities that were particularly difficult to start. Because this is the first time for everyone to prepare for this kind of event, so I must have said everything I can think of. Wei 11 did not raise her hand to express her thoughts, and Aika and Ling did not join in the fun. They had not seen the Moonflower Festival with their own eyes and were not so enthusiastic. Their attention was focused on Luoluo's performance. Wei 11, is there anything you want to do? Aika lay on the table and asked in a volume that only Wei 11 could hear. I'm not very sure. Aren't all children of this grade interested in such lively things? Aika was confused for a moment. How do we carry out activities like a restaurant? Apart from the cooking room in the third school building, there are no other cooking tools. Don't worry about this, Chiuke stood up confidently, I have no more cooking tools at home, so you can bring them all over. Wait a minute, Chiuke, we haven't decided yet, but it's a restaurant. Luoluo reminded Chiuke in a low voice, who made the decision without authorization. Just do them all. Ling, who had never expressed an opinion, suddenly interjected at this time. What does it mean? Luoluo tilted his head. Other students probably didn't understand Ling's words either. That is to say, if we put all these themes together, wouldn't we have our own characteristics? This bold idea caused a small commotion as soon as it was proposed. Some students are satisfied with this opinion, while others are worried about its feasibility. After all, this is the only festival a year. If it fails, it will be regrettable for a whole year. Ling, are you serious? Aika was also startled by her sudden speech. Of course you are serious. Decide on a small goal first, and then look for ways to achieve it. This will make it faster. I think Sister Ling's opinion is perfect. This is the wish of all of us, and of course it should be realized together. Zixie's words became the driving force for the class to move forward, and the voices of approval gradually became louder. That is to say, there is absolutely no problem if we all work together. Try it. If you succeed, you will definitely get the Moonflower Award. Moonflower Reward. This is the first time Ling heard this term. The class with the best performance can receive the honor of Moonlight Award after the end. The prize is a free meal ticket for the whole class in the Moonlight Bath, which is worth a whole semester. Luoluo only learned that there was such a reward after attending the meeting of the organizing committee. This is probably one of the goals that the students of Shigetsuki Academy strive for. We must win. We must win. Ling suddenly stood up from his seat, uncharacteristically full of enthusiasm. Oh! Driven by her rising enthusiasm, the classroom was filled with shouts. Therefore, the Twin Squad's exhibition event was decided to be a haunted house restaurant with role plays, art exhibitions, and concerts. After all, not many people should understand what this is. What aroused you just now? After the class meeting, Aika couldn't help but ask Ling this question. That's a year's meal voucher. So you are so good at eating? I didn't realize it before. This has nothing to do with that. I mean, you can save a lot of money this semester. I see. Aika finally understood why Ling Hui was so excited, remembering that she once complained about what she wanted to buy. Sister Ling, thank you just now. Luoluo expressed his gratitude to her for helping him unify everyone's ideas midway. In short, if everyone is satisfied, let's start preparations. But to be honest, what kind of things will be shown in the end? Aika looked at the plan on the screen with a headache. It feels really strange to prepare something that I don't even know what it is. Hi, Luoluo. Chiuke also came to the circle of four and raised his hands to Luoluo. The host was wonderful just now. Thanks. Luoluo smiled sheepishly and slapped Chiuke's palms in mid-air. It's incredible. I'm so nervous when I see you at the door. Don't mention what happened at that time again. Luoluo scolded Aika angrily. You should also take a look at the atmosphere. Because it's brother Aika. Ling and Wei 11 also had the exact same opinion. Luoluo, we need to pay special attention to the funding issue of the class. Chiuke reminded Luoluo again. I also said during the meeting yesterday that no new funds will be allocated to us even if the budget is exceeded. Don't worry, this kind of thing happens to be Luoluo's strength. Aika proudly boasted about her sister. That's no problem. Chiuke nodded with satisfaction, turned around and faced the classmates who had not left yet. Everyone, come to class in the afternoon. A little later than other classes, the preparation activities for the twin classes also officially started. The task Wei 11 was assigned was to count the display materials. This task did not require a lot of physical strength. She only needed to confirm each item on the list. This is not wrong. She took a pen and drew circles on the list. Wei 11. Brother Aika. Wei 11 put down the pen and paper and nodded gently to him. Do you need help? It doesn't matter, this is my job. She looked like she was enjoying it. Brother Aika, is it okay? Aika and the few other boys in the class naturally took on all the physical work, including indoor construction and the like. There is nothing for us to do at this time. We can't start work until all the materials are ready, so the most important thing is your work. I'll try my best. Aika looked around the classroom. The handicraft group is making classroom decorations, while the art group is responsible for drawing promotional posters and interior scenes. He originally proposed to Luoluo that Ling also join the art team. However, because there is a haunted house in the theme, the indoor light will not be very bright. It is difficult for students without art foundation to grasp the overall feeling of the interior, so Luoluo gave her a different task, which is to design the classroom interior. Without reference pictures, the layout of the classroom interior would be impossible to make based on imagination. Ling's role is very important. Sister Ling is very serious. Wei 11 narrowed her eyes slightly. Has Ling ever mentioned art-related topics to you? Wei 11 recalled it and shook her head regretfully. Yeah. Aika also followed Wei 11's gaze and looked at Ling, who was sitting by the window facing the classroom. Her paintbrush constructed ideal lines on the white paper. Then come on, I'll go see if there is anything Luoluo needs help with. Waving to Wei 11, who responded with a smile, Aika left her side. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 163. Although the work was indeed a bit hard, no one complained about it and everyone was enjoying the process. There were confusions along the way, and some small mistakes had a chain reaction. But under the joint coordination of Luoluo and Chiuke, these problems were successfully solved. When the fruits of your labor are officially displayed in front of you, the joy cannot be accurately expressed in just a few words. 2 days before the official start of the Moonflower Festival, the interior decoration of the classroom has been basically completed. Using the cooking tools Chiuke brought from home, he built an indoor cooking room with basic functions. Way 11's enchantment magic also helped a lot, isolating the cooking room and the dining hall. The effects team tested the use of light and dark magic indoors and successfully created the atmosphere of a haunted house. Although it was dark, it would not make the guests feel uncomfortable. 3 candles were placed in the center of each table, which was Zixie's suggestion to make the atmosphere more romantic. Because the costume group has high requirements for precision, the progress is slower than that of other groups, and the finished product has not yet been produced until now. Really been waiting. Luoluo stopped next to Aika while looking at the nearly completed classroom. I didn't expect it to be completed before the estimated time. To be honest, Aika did not expect that the efficiency of everyone's cooperation would be so high. When he occasionally passed by the door of the next classroom, he found that the class that had started preparing before them had not yet reached this level. You can be a little proud. Being able to see the configuration on his canvas become a reality must have made Ling feel a little excited. By the way, I heard that the costume team will be finished tomorrow. Do you want to try it too? When the store was officially opened, the boys were responsible for helping out in the cooking room and maintaining order in the store. Some girls stayed in the cooking room, and the other girls served as waiters dressed as ghosts. Lolo, you won't come to the front desk, will you? Well, if I have time, I should come out and play. Needless to say, Luoluo must be an important figure in the cooking room. Aika, did you ignore me naturally? Are you in the cooking room too? I don't want to be a waiter. Aika really couldn't imagine Ling entertaining guests. As for Xiao 11, I'm already used to it. Working in Moonlight Bath for such a long time has greatly improved Way 11's interpersonal skills. I don't know if I can do it well yet. If it was the original Way 11, she would definitely not be able to do such a thing. Although she still lacks self-confidence now, at least she won't escape anymore. Just treat this place as a moonlight bath, there will be no problem. Aika touched Way 11's little head and cheered her up. The clothes, wouldn't they be weird? It probably won't be weird, and everyone is dressed similarly, so there's nothing to be afraid of. Since she didn't see the finished product, it was inconvenient for Ling to answer in the affirmative. The preparations are almost complete. The rest is just a matter of cheering up for the day. Speaking of which, besides students from Shigetsuki Academy, are there any other guests? Aika suddenly realized that no one had mentioned this issue. There are not many students in Shigetsuki Academy, so why can they create such a lively atmosphere in the photo? Didn't I tell my brother? You never said that. I forgot. Luoluo stuck out her tongue in embarrassment. Sister Ling asked me this question before, and my brother happened to not be there at the time. There will be many people coming during the official opening, because of the Moonflower Festival during the period, Frost Moon Academy is open to the outside world. Not only people from neutral areas, but also people from our own country and neighboring countries will come here. Luoluo explained it to Aika again. That's really spectacular. After Aika imagined that scene, it was not difficult to understand her question just now. So security issues during that period were also very important. Luoluo nodded. Does the discipline team still have to work during the festival? No, At least I didn't receive such a notification. Ling shook her head at Aika, who looked over. It is said that the security duties are carried out by patrolling instructors and dedicated security officers. Students only need to enjoy the festival. This is what was said at the meeting. If there is a mentor here, I can feel a little more at ease. Although Aika said so, she still had some concerns. Now that the family background has been completely exposed, the surrounding environment is no longer as peaceful as it seems. Frost Moon Academy is a solid layer of invisible protection for them. If Shigetsuki Academy is open to the public during the Gekkake festival, it is unknown whether some troublesome things will be introduced. Although this kind of worry is very self-centered or unfounded, Aika still can't let go of this idea. Aika, who was temporarily free, came to the second floor where the third-grade classroom was located. There is indeed a big difference between the preparation work of third-year students and second-year students. They are basically in a completed state. Aika-san, what are you doing here? I am sorry, I just wanted to visit. It turned out to be Senior Akatsuki. It would be terrible if he was caught as a spy for other classes. Aika is not very good at facing the seniors. Aika breathed a sigh of relief after knowing that the other party was a familiar student of Xiao. I thought you came here to find someone, so it didn't matter if you went in. No, thanks. Well, I'll leave first. Senior Akatsuki did not insist on extending the invitation to Aika, and walked into his classroom after saying goodbye to him. This is the Lion class, and next to it is, the Maiden. Aika remembers that the Virgin class is the class where Lilith Senpai and Teilua Senpai are. Although he is also very interested in the layout of their class, it may become troublesome for them to see him here. The classroom door is now closed, and Aika is preparing to quietly pass by the door of the Virgin class. The more you are afraid of something happening, the easier it is to happen. He perfectly verified this sentence at this moment. When Aika walked lightly and passed by the door of the Virgin class classroom, two familiar voices came faintly from behind the door. Aika immediately quickened her pace, but the classroom door was immediately pushed open, and senior sisters Lilith and Teilua walked out of the classroom together. Isn't that Aika? Senior sister Lilith called out his name first, and this voice no longer allowed Aika to continue to escape. Oh, it's true. Immediately afterwards, senior sister Teruya also noticed him. It's really rare to be on the third-grade floor. The footsteps of the two people gradually approached, and Aika had no choice but to turn around and say hello to the two senior sisters, pretending to be a chance encounter. What's the matter here? Senior Lilith asked with concern, clasping her hands behind her back. No. I just want to see what the seniors' classes are like. Touched by Senior Lilith's gentle tone, he told her everything. It's the so-called reconnaissance of the enemy. The meaning is indeed similar, but when Teilua Senpai said it, Aika felt an extra sense of guilt in her heart. If you want to watch it, you can watch it as much as you want. Senior sister Lilith took Aika's hand. Our class's classroom decoration has just been prepared. Please wait a moment. Suddenly being held by senior sister Lilith's hand, Aika panicked. You're welcome, it doesn't matter if you see me now. Since the organizing committee member of our class has said so, there is nothing I can do to stop it. Teruya Senpai also nodded in affirmation. But Aika didn't want to enter a classroom full of unfamiliar seniors alone. Just thinking about that scene would make her feel awkward. Sorry, I have to go back to my class now. Aika held senior Lilith's hand. Thank you both for your kindness. After withdrawing his hand, Aika bowed seriously to the two of them, then quickened his pace and left from the stairs. It's okay to not be so polite. Senior Lilith looked at her hand with some regret, the ring on her ring finger shining silently. Boys also have various considerations, so don't pay too much attention to them. Teilua Senpai knows how much she feels about Aika, but being a friend can't be of much help. Ah, senior sister Lilith suddenly let out a small exclamation, it's almost time. So I already reminded you when we were in the classroom. Are you still going to take Ika to visit the classroom? Sorry. Suffering a double blow, Senior Lilith followed Senior Sister Tilyuya to Twora's office in dejection. She had been kept waiting for a long time. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 164. After finishing her last day at work, Ika slumped in a chair in the hall of her home. I didn't expect the last day to be so hard. Tomorrow finally ushered in the opening of the Moonflower Festival. The students in the twin classes checked every corner of the classroom today. This job is over. Luoluo placed the cup of scented tea that he had made by himself in front of Ika, and then sat down next to him. We can't say it's over until the Moonflower Festival comes to an end in 2 days. Ika flicked her head. Brother doesn't need to remind me about this kind of thing. Luoluo held his cup to his mouth and glanced at Ika quietly. I tried hard. Well, you've worked hard. Then, don't you give some reward to my sister who works hard. She hesitated and made a request that she had been holding back until now. What kind of reward do you want? I may not be able to agree to a reward that is too exorbitant. Can you give me some of your time tomorrow? No problem. Brother, do you really understand? Luoluo glanced in the direction of the bathroom. Ling and Wei 11 were now inside. I mean, just leave that part of the time to me alone, okay? Ika didn't look at Luoluo, but just agreed to her request in a low voice. There was a moment of silence between the two. After a while, Ika broke the silence. How should I explain it to Ling and Wei 11? I have arranged everyone's shifts at different time periods. When it is their turn, I will return to the classroom obediently. So, please, brother, while you are with me, please forget about other things for the time being. Almost pleadingly, Luoluo endured the shame and expressed her wish. I promise you, just keep looking at you. Well, brother, thank you. This kind of thing, even if you don't have to emphasize it like this, I still know it. Ika raised the corners of her mouth slightly and put her hands on her long, silky hair. There are less than 10 hours until the opening of the Moonflower Festival, and everyone is waiting for that moment with different thoughts. Harmony section. At the same time, there was still a little light coming from the window of the principal's room. It seems that all preparations have been completed. Principal Phyllis was sorting out the documents on her desk. It looked like she could look forward to this year's Moonflower Festival. Shimizuki Academy will be open to the public tomorrow, and the corresponding security work has been arranged. Normal accidents will basically be eliminated at the first sign of happening. However, the impact of 10 ordinary accidents is far less than that of one accident, and it is precisely because it is unavoidable that it is called an accident. This is the only time of year when I need to be nervous. I wonder if my reflexes have diminished. Putting the files on the table into the drawer, she took out a small chip from the aperture in her palm. I haven't had time, let's take a look now. Put the chip into the encrypted PDA and the hastily processed data is displayed on the screen. How urgent was the situation at that time to make it like this? As a perfectionist, Principal Phyllis is troubled by unorganized information. But it was already rare to get such information, and she knew it would be her own willfulness to complain about her collaborators who now had no idea whether they were alive or dead. Principal Phyllis glanced quickly from chart to chart. This is not complete data, but her collaborators have copied all the most intuitive information into such a small chip. She only needs to analyze how these important data can exert its true value. The night was getting darker, and the lights in the principal's room went out soon after. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 165. The annual Moonflower Festival of Shigetsuki Academy opened under the eyes of everyone. First of all, it was the customary speeches by Principal Phyllis and the Student Council President. Reporters from different countries and organizations swarmed in and used recording crystals to preserve this precious scene. When the opening ceremony of the Moonflower Festival ends, these images will be spread to every corner of the continent through different channels within a few minutes, making headlines of various major and minor news. VIPs from all over the mainland will not receive special treatment here. This is the consistent practice of Shiyu Academy, which is in a neutral position. The large screen facing 8 directions can transmit the live broadcast of the opening to all audiences present. As expected, Chiuke showed a hint of nervousness in this situation, and there was a slight pause in his speech, but it did not have much impact on the overall quality. The opening ceremony did not have any grand and gorgeous activities. It simply conveyed to the outside world the philosophy and will of Shigetsuki Academy, as well as its heartfelt welcome to all guests. The capable opening ceremony was the usual style of Shiyu Academy. All class and group activities are displayed on the school bulletin board. This time, the Moonflower Festival was different from last year in that 3 classes in the first grade also participated. The freshmen are very motivated. Yes. Ika responded casually. Next to him is not a common figure, but the noble son of the God clan, Carlo. The division of labor between boys and girls is different, so after the opening ceremony, Carlo naturally walked beside Ika. Luoluo and the others went to the classroom with a small group of girls to prepare for opening the store. Please take care of me today, Ika. Carlo and Ika were placed in the same team by Lolo and were responsible for maintaining order outside the field. Ika thought that according to Luoluo's character, she would definitely be placed in the cooking room. Each other. After regaining consciousness, Ika shook the hand he extended. Carlo's hands are always wearing white gloves on weekdays. Although it seems a bit rude when shaking hands, Ika does not care about such details. There are more guests this year than last year. It may be a bit busy for 2 people to maintain order at the venue. Anyway, let's work hard together. Don't worry, there will be no problem. When you said such words, I already felt uneasy. Outdoor stalls have been set up one after another. Carlo looked at both sides of the main road of Frost Moon Academy as he walked. The shops that had not been set up yesterday sprung up like mushrooms at the booth designated by the organizing committee just a few minutes after the opening ceremony. Because they are very well prepared. They moved all the building materials here yesterday. Even that's pretty surprising. Carlo was still in high spirits and pulled Ika to look around the stall. If you don't go back, won't the girls be angry? Oh, that's right, sorry. After being reminded by Ika, Carlo realized that the 2 of them still had tasks to do next. Ika let go of the hand held by Carlo. Holding hands with someone of the same sex was not something he was opposed to, but there seemed to be something wrong with the way the women around him looked at her. Have you seen the shift schedule? Was it arranged by Luoluo? Carlo walked beside Ika while confirming the class roster on his PDA. I've seen it. There are 2 groups taking turns outside the field. I remember each group is only responsible for 1 hour. Not only that, Ika also noticed that every time it was her turn to take a break, one of the 3 of them would change shifts at the same time. This arrangement was deliberate by Luoluo, and she herself admitted it. Will you come with me to see other activities then? I have an appointment. That's true. Carlo didn't express much regret, he just spread his hands casually. Why did you come to me for such a thing? I can probably count the number of people who want to invite you on both hands. Although Carlo is indeed very low-key, his heroic face and elegant manners alone have been able to win him enough popularity. What you said is indeed true. Congratulations. Ika congratulated him without emotion. But I have no interest, although I feel sorry for them to say this. Please keep it a secret for me. I won't tell it, because there is no such person for me to tell it to. You are actually quite popular among girls, haven't you noticed? Thank you, but you really don't have to take my feelings into consideration. I'm serious, and I'm more interested in you, too. Please, I don't want to go to that kind of world. Ika deliberately moved farther away from Carlo, but he still came closer with a smile. And aren't there always 3 beautiful girls around you? As a result, the boys who want to get close to them all focus their hatred on you. Unknowingly, Shiyu Academy has become dangerous. Ika didn't expect that a group of people would gather around her in this sense, and she couldn't help but laugh. Ling is indeed the kind of girl with good looks, and despite her cold appearance, she often accidentally reveals her girlish side, so she naturally becomes one of the secretly admired objects of the opposite sex. Wei 11 is as lovable as a small animal, but it is difficult for her to even talk to strangers. Therefore, she has become an idol who can be watched from a distance but not played with. Luoluo is very approachable to everyone around him. In addition, the relationship with Ika has been established since birth, so he must obtain Ika's consent before having a close relationship with her. These 3 flowers of the high mountains naturally gathered around Ika because of their status as family. If it weren't for Carlo who raised it, Ika would never have thought about such a problem. Also, Carlo had doubts about the words Ika said casually, but he didn't seem to care very much, so, if you are with me often, you won't have so much trouble. It seems abnormal for 2 men to be together all the time. I know what you mean, but I really can't be with you this time. It's better for me to solve the current troubles first than those troubles that I don't know when they will arise. At the breakfast table today, they all pretended not to care and talked about their shift break time. If Ika wasn't being pretentious, this would be an obvious hint. If you don't do what they want, trouble will follow after you get home. Tisk, I ask so humbly. So, just go find the people who need you. TCH, just hold your harem and drown them. Carlo waved his hand and quickened his pace, leaving Ika behind. This is not a harem. Ika couldn't understand why Carlo was so obsessed with himself. Maybe he just wants to use his status as a same-sex partner to avoid the girls who come to pursue him, but is he disgusted to this extent? If you really hate it, you can avoid worrying about it as long as you show that you don't have that kind of thought. But Carlo did not do that, but maintained a very ambiguous relationship with them. This statement may easily lead others to think that Carlo is a playboy, the kind of scumbag who is not worth crying for even if he is hacked to death, but Ika does not view him like this. When he rejected the invitations from those girls, he seemed more at a loss. He sincerely hopes to get along well with the girls, but he keeps a distance from them. This approach is approved by Ika, and he himself believes that this mentality is of great help in maintaining a balance of interpersonal concerns. Hey, wait for me. Carlo. Hearing Ika's shout from behind, Carlo quickened his pace, and Ika finally arrived at his side. One thing comes to another. We will continue to cooperate well in a while. I know. Carlo responded angrily, he would probably forget about this matter after a while. That's good. Ika, who was relieved, and Carlo, who didn't say anything, walked into the teaching building together. As soon as he returned to the classroom, Luoluo's reproach immediately reached Ika's ears. Brother, where did you and Carlo go for a walk? She walked over anxiously and put the sign into Ika's hand. Really, we are already too busy. The light in the classroom has been adjusted to dim. The fire element is beating on the tip of the candle, and the light element is floating in mid-air, creating the effect of a will-o'-the-wisp. The weird handmade products displayed around the place, illuminated by not-so-bright lights, particularly enhance the atmosphere. Lolo, do you need to pour the condiment wine into the measuring cup first? Chiuke's voice came from the cooking room. Pour it out first, I'll be right over. After arranging the work in the cooking room, Luoluo turned around and warned Ika and Carlo. I'm leaving it to you outside the venue. You must pay attention to the number of guests coming in each time. I know, You guys should work hard. Ika handed a sign to Carlo and turned around to start work. Elder brother. Luoluo suddenly called Ika, and Ika nodded gently to her, and then she returned to the cooking room where she worked with peace of mind. The agreement does not need to be emphasized repeatedly, only a small gesture is needed to keep it going. Less than a few minutes after the store was officially opened, customers were already arriving one after another. Ika and Carlo worked together, and after the restaurant was full of customers, they put up a sign asking other customers to wait. The art team's promotional poster is really exaggerated. Ika looked around the corridor and sighed again. I thought that the promotional poster was just a painting placed at the entrance of the store, but I didn't expect that they were so creative that they covered the entire wall of the twin class with the same color tone as a signpost between the 3 floors. What's special is that they apply basic light magic to these signposts. After a guest notices one of the signposts, a conspicuous light path will be formed between the 2 signposts, guiding the guests all the way to this place. There is still a little bit left in the budget, and with the turnover, it should be a lot of income. The sales during the Moonflower Festival will be equally divided among everyone in the class, which is also one of the motivations for everyone's efforts. The one in our family is still waiting for a meal voucher for a semester. Your sister? It's Ling La. I really can't tell. Then how did you tell it from my sister? Aren't capable girls usually big eaters? And they are the type who can eat no matter how much they eat without getting fat. It's time to correct your misconceptions. Why does Ling need so many meal tickets? She also wants to save money at home. She also said that her purpose is not for food. It's hard to tell at all. Student Ling turns out to be such a family-oriented type. If you really want to say it, Way 11 is about the same. It's really easy for you to have such a girl as your girlfriend. How many times have I told you, they are family members, not girlfriends? How long are you going to deceive yourself like this? This is not. Stop talking. When he was about to surpass Ika in words, Carlo did not continue the topic. If you are lazy, you will be scolded by the busy classmates inside. As expected, Ika felt several lines of sight coming from the classroom. He had no choice but to turn his attention back to the bustling corridor, instead of thinking about the meaning of what Carlo had just said. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 166. As long as you concentrate on something, time will pass quickly. Hey, thank you for your hard work. It's shift change time. After handing the sign to the 2 boys who came to take over the work, Ika had her first break. Carlo went back to the store after his shift, while Ika stepped slightly away from the door of the classroom and stood leaning against the wall. She might not come. With this uncertain thought, Ika waited nervously. His worries didn't last long as someone suddenly tapped him on the shoulder. Yo! Ling was wearing a pure white apron, her long blonde hair was rolled up in a small square scarf, and under the apron was the lining of her uniform that she had taken off her coat. What a coincidence! Ika responded to her greeting somewhat dully. I was just thinking that you might not be able to find anything to do during your break, so I came out to check on you. Don't get me wrong. Ling said this without looking into Ika's eyes. There really isn't anything to do. It's like what you see now, staring at the ceiling in a daze. I have indeed seen your idiotic expression. What Ling said today seemed to be more hurtful than usual. That's just right, I happen to be free now, do you want to come and accompany you? Thank you. I still won't reveal her cover here, and agreeing to her words is the best way to deal with it. Just walk around here and kill some time. It was obviously a reluctant tone, but she took the step before Ika. Ling, don't stay too far away from me. Ika reached out and grabbed Ling's hand, pulling her to her side. Huh? What are you doing all of a sudden? Ling's first reaction was to try to pull away the hand held by Aika, but it was only the first attempt. There are too many people here. It's dangerous to get separated, especially you. Ling, who originally thought Aika had another purpose and was a little flustered, was immediately discouraged after hearing what he said. What, I know this kind of thing, I'm not a child. Is there anywhere you want to go? I've never been in a third-grade classroom. I happened to pass by there a few days ago, and they all looked amazing. Let's go to the third floor and have a look. Wait, why are you going to the third-grade classroom? This time it was Ling who grabbed Aika, who was about to leave. Abby and Zixi asked me to check their completion level and bring back some reference opinions, which is similar to reconnaissance of the enemy. Aika directly used the way of describing Senpai Tairuya. After reviewing the actions at that time after such a long time, I found that this statement seems to be the most appropriate. That's it? Ling seemed to feel relieved, her stiff expression relaxed, and her strength to hold Aika relaxed a lot. What's wrong? Well. Ling shook her head, no, it's nothing, don't worry about it. Oh. Although the two were holding hands, there was no ambiguous atmosphere at all. Instead, it looked more like Ling was pulling Aika forward. They walked up a flight of stairs to the third graders' floor. This floor is still crowded, but it does not appear chaotic. The third graders' guidance skills are indeed very strong. The Lion class is a convenient magic equipment exhibition. Aika browsed the school bulletin board on her PDA. This activity seemed to give little information based on its name. He asked Ling beside him for his opinion with his eyes. Go and see each one. In fact, Ling is also aimless. No matter what the content of the exhibition is, she will give the same answer. After waiting in line for a short while, Aika and Ling entered the classroom through the front door. Like the twin class, the Lion class also uses enchantment magic to expand the space inside the classroom and divide it into different display areas. Bravo! At the first glance of the interior, Ling couldn't help but sigh. The reason why the twin classes were unable to achieve this level was because the barrier department had just officially started and it was too heavy a burden to hand over the entire classroom to Way 11, so only the space in the cooking room was expanded. Oh? You are here too. Senior Xiao, who was doing navigation, noticed two familiar faces coming in from the front door, saying hello and walking towards them. Long time no see, Senior Xiao. At this time, Ling would still bow his head and salute the seniors in a polite manner. It has indeed been a long time since we last met, Ling-san. The last time they met was when the student union and Ika Exe returned from the Tiburai kingdom. I met Ika not long ago. Haha, I was really in a hurry at that time. When I went out, I saw you talking to Lilith and Telua for a long time. Are you really not here to see them? Ika's hand held by Ling was suddenly grasped tightly with a force that could break bones, but Ika still tried hard not to show the pain. Senior Xiao, I only talked to them for about a minute. On the surface, these words were spoken to Senior Akatsuki, but in fact they were meant to convey to the girl next to him who might draw a sword at any time. It seems like that, well, that's right. Senior Akatsuki glanced at Ika and Ling's clasped hands with ulterior motives, and then kindly rescued him from the immediate crisis. Senior Xiao, what are the main things on display here? The perpetrator, Ling, completely ignored Ika's pain and instead focused on the Lion class Convenient Magic Tools exhibition. Convenient magic tools refer to magic tools that can make life easier, and are essentially different from magic tools used for combat. We collected the uses and development ideas of new magic tools from the whole class, and then the Magic Tools Comprehensive Department I developed it together with students from the Magic Mechanical Department, and thus these things came into being. The magic tools on display in Akatsuya Senpai's class have gone beyond the concept of taking lives and become novel props that add luster to daily life. The core component used here is a reduced version of the molecular power circuit, which can store simple magic converters and uses the same working principle as ordinary magic tools. Ika was naturally interested in the new props developed by his predecessors. Each convenient magic tool was operating in different barrier display areas, completely attracting his attention. "Classmate Ika, I heard the president mention that you are a freshman in the magic mechanical department this year, right? Then, I hope our little cleverness can provide you with some new ideas." "How can you be so clever? These works are really great." "Haha, then I'm going to explain it to the other guests. You too, please help yourself." The students of Shigetsuki Academy are not the main target of their explanations, but the guests from all over the academy. If you are lucky, you may be able to establish a cooperative relationship with a magic tool production company, which will bring considerable benefits to Shimizuki Academy. The third-year seniors are so awesome. This was Ling's second emotion after entering this classroom. We will be third graders in another year, but we will still be far behind compared to them. Ika smiled to himself. He didn't think he would become so mature in a year. "It's still possible," Ling said suddenly. "We have changed so much compared to a year ago, so we can't imagine what it will be like a year from now. Maybe he has become someone you don't even recognize. As long as it's not in a bad direction. It's really not like you to be sentimental." Ika saw Ling lowering her eyes slightly, so she deliberately stimulated her with ridicule. "What, just think about the future a little bit. If it really turns out to be like that, you can also be mentally prepared in advance." Ling immediately hit back at Ika with various reasons that seemed very reasonable. After leaving the classroom through the back door, Ika noticed a notice on the wall. "The Lion class is linked with the Virgin class next door." Ika didn't immediately understand what this meant. It probably means that the Lion class magic tools were actually put into use during the Maiden class demonstration event. "You still have some time left, would you like to drop by and take a look?" The Virgin class, Tairua-senpai's class. There was no long queue in front of the door of the Maiden class like the Lion class. Their exhibition was a stage play just like last year, and they were not allowed to enter the venue at will during the performance. Just when Ling felt regretful, Ika left her side and walked towards the third-year senior sister who was sitting at the back door to guide her. The two talked from a distance for about half a minute, and then the third-year senior sister gently entered the classroom through the back door. Only then did Ling walk to Ika's side. "What are you doing?" Ling asked puzzledly to Ika, who was acting inexplicably. Ling couldn't hear clearly what he said to the third-year senior sister. "I asked the senior sister if she could make an exception and let us go in through the back door to visit." "If you just ask, you don't need to communicate for such a long time, and you will definitely be rejected at first. If you can't go in, it's okay to come back later if you have time. Don't you want to go see it now?" "I have a little bit of this idea, but there is no need to go to such trouble for me. Actually, it's not a very troublesome negotiation. Senior Lilith is not an actress this time." The senior just asked her if she could agree. "Is Senior Lilith the organizing committee member of the Virgin class?" "It seems so." In fact, Ika already knew this fact, but just pretended to know it just now. The back door of the classroom was pushed open a crack, and the senior sister who had just entered came out. "Okay, you can go in quietly through the back door. Lilith is in the last row of the classroom, and she asked you to go find her there." "Thank you, please, senior sister." "It's okay, but it's not good to bring other girls with you when you come to find her." "Ahaha. But Lilith said that the others brought by Ika can also go in together." At that time, I also noticed that Ling was watching from the other side. "Thank you for your help." Feeling that it would be bad to stay here any longer, Ika quickly pulled Ling and hid in the classroom. When they first entered the classroom, the two of them thought they had entered a different space. In the dimly lit space, There is a soft dark carpet under your feet. There are seats neatly arranged in the spacious space, and the lights are swaying on the stage not far away. Is this a classroom? If they had not known this premise in advance, they would have thought that they had accidentally stepped into August's opera house. After calming down, I realized that although the scenes were very similar, there were still big differences in details. Last row. In the dim light, they noticed senior sister Lilith, who was waving to them. The two walked along the seats and sat down next to senior Lilith. Is this the effect of Lion Squad's magic equipment? I mentioned before that the Lion class and the Maiden class are linked together, but this scenario can only be associated with magic tools. They are very powerful. Thanks to this magic tool, our customer flow has always been very objective. Senior Lilith nodded with satisfaction, confirming Ika's guess. After Ling and Senior Lilith greeted each other briefly in a low voice, they turned their attention to the performance in the center of the stage. The stage play has been going on for a while, and the senior who plays the heroine has her long hair that beats like flames tied up high. Last year's Tailua Senpai also appeared on stage as an actress, right? Senior Lilith didn't know that Ling had already seen the precious photos from last year's Moonflower Festival, where she and Tailua performed on the same stage. This is the last time we will participate in the Moonflower Festival. We all want to leave some special memories. Why did Senior Lilith give up being an actress this year? If it is a special memory, then the actors are definitely more eye-catching than the work behind the scenes. Naturally, Ling, whose personality is different from that of Senior Lilith, cannot understand this problem. What's more, Lilith Senpai has experience performing on stage, so she definitely didn't stay behind the scenes because of shyness. In previous years, our stage plays were adapted from classical literature. This year, due to everyone's kindness, I was given the responsibility for the original script, so I can no longer take away the actor's position. Senior Lilith placed the small book gently on her chest. Under the dim light, her smile could still bring moisture to her heart. Is this a script written by Senior Lilith alone? Ika praised with some admiration. After watching it quietly from the middle for a while, I can roughly connect the upper and lower plots. This is a short story that happened in a circle of friends. The heroine is a girl with mediocre grades, and her friends work very hard. In the competition for the same goal, the heroine unexpectedly succeeds, causing her friend to say hurtful words and run away. With the help of others in their circle of friends, the two eventually reconciled. I feel like Senior Lilith. Ling, who was not particularly interested in stage plays, was also touched by the development of the plot. How I feel. It's such a warm feeling. Ling quickly explained his unclear emotion. It's obviously a fictional script, but it feels very close to reality. Ika put forward a little bit of her own opinion. Because, this is a story that happened between Taruya and I when we were in first grade. Senior Lilith's eyes revealed a look of nostalgia. You and Tailua Senpai? The real story? Instead, Ling was shocked by senior sister Lilith's confession. Is it really based on reality? Unexpectedly, the two people who always travel together now had such a story. The reason Ika didn't feel particularly surprised was because this kind of thing also happened around him. In this case, it is even more appropriate to be with Tailua Senpai. I won't go, senior sister Lilith raised her finger to Ling's mouth, not letting her continue. This is also Tailuyu's own request. She will carefully recreate the scene at that time, and I will feel the regret from different angles. Because it is the last time, we hope to use different moods to make the scene stay on the stage forever. Superior. After such a conflict, the two spent 3 years together as students. Looking back at their past selves, they may make different discoveries. With only a few minutes left in the break, the two of them bid farewell to Lilith Senpai with this feeling in their hearts and left the Virgin Girl classroom. It was only a brief separation when Ling was sent to the door of the twin class, so Ling hurried back to the classroom without saying goodbye to him. "Oh, I'm back." Carlo was also ready for his shift. "Where did you just hang out? Let's go to the festival alone." Carlo shrugged nonchalantly. "This is your own fault, just accept the invitation properly. Walking alone feels more free. Stop talking about me and concentrate on your work." Carlo seemed to be in a bad mood, and Ika could only shut up. End La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 167. Ika gradually began to feel that she was a little overconfident, although Ling happened to consider herself. What other people would think was another matter. Time passed by minute, and 5 minutes flew by in the blink of an eye, but Wei 11 still did not come out of the classroom. Maybe she had made an appointment with someone else in advance, but Ika also paid attention to the direction of the back door of the classroom and did not see the pure white color leave the classroom. Should I go in to find her? Ika hesitated. If she didn't have that idea, she would become a stalker. If you have ever expected that Wei 11 would take the initiative to come to you during her break, the answer is yes. Time is still passing, and the time left is gradually decreasing. Ika tapped the wall with her fingers behind her back, feeling very anxious inside. After another 2 minutes, she was still nowhere to be seen. Go find Carlo. Although I feel like I am a bit of a scumbag for only thinking of my friends at this time, at least I can avoid the embarrassment of being alone and apologize to Carlo later. However, as soon as he took 2 steps, someone grabbed his clothes from behind. Ika was relieved for a moment, and felt a sense of security in her heart for no reason. "Yes, I'm sorry, can you delay Brother Ika's time for a moment?" The small voice conveyed the nervous mood, and the corner of the clothes was gently pulled again. The waiters in the twin classes were all dressed up as ghosts. Miss Ghost's costume was still worn on her little body, and she only had a uniform jacket tightly wrapped around it. The changing area was demolished after the store opened. "I can only dress like this, I'm sorry." There was no way Wei 11 could walk around in the crowd wearing that outfit, so she wasted so much time trying to figure out how to solve the clothing problem. "There's nothing wrong with the way you are now. It doesn't matter if you don't have to forcefully change into your uniform." Ika knelt down and helped her put on the coat she had put on in a hurry. "We'll be seen. You will also be seen by guests in the classroom. It's very dark there, so it doesn't matter." "All right." Ika stood up and lowered his hand naturally. Wei 11 carefully touched the back of his hand. When Ika looked this way, she immediately retracted her hand and hid it behind her back. "I thought, holding. It's harder to get separated when holding hands." Ika looked at her timid movements and smiled bitterly, and took the initiative to reach out his hand in front of her. "So, where should we go?" If it were Wei 11, she probably wouldn't want to go to a place with a lot of people. In that case, the stall outside the teaching building might be more suitable for her. Ika slowed down as much as possible to match Wei 11's speed, and the two walked through the crowded corridor and arrived outside the teaching building. Because the space here is spacious enough, the crowding level is much better than in the teaching building. Wei 11 held her knees and panted. The amount of exercise just now was probably her limit. "Let's take a little rest." Ika looked around and saw that the benches were basically occupied by people who looked like couples. If you want to find a place to sit, you have to go to a less popular place. It should be fine there. As long as you leave the designated stall point, walk a few steps forward and you will find a courtyard. Because it is some distance from the center of the festival, no one is using the once popular spot. Ika took Wei 11's hand and led her to a seat in the courtyard. "How's it going?" Wei 11's face looked much better than before, but Ika still asked. "It doesn't matter to me anymore, I'm sorry, if I stay in the classroom." "Don't say such things." "Ah." Ika flicked her forehead unceremoniously. The festival should be enjoyed, and I have been looking forward to coming out with you for a long time. Aika confessed her heart to Way 11 with some difficulty, so, instead, I want to thank you. Way 11's eyes widened with tears. She seemed to have never dreamed that she would be thanked by Aika. I should be the one to thank brother Aika. The rest time that I finally got, ah. His forehead was hit hard again. Then, let's take a walk around the main road. Seeing that Way 11 had indeed regained her energy, Aika stood up from her side first. He didn't want to continue spending his rare time in a place like this. The cute smile reappeared on Way 11's face. She carefully jumped down from her seat and gently held Aika's hand that she had extended to her. The stalls on both sides of the main road mainly sell various snacks. Because they are not made by classes, but by individual small teams, they have their own characteristics. The two of them strolled slowly against the flow of people. There is a pleasant smell in the air, which is enough to arouse people's appetite and enhance the atmosphere of the festival. Is there anything you want to buy? Well. Way 11 looked at both sides of the main road one by one. Because they are all shops run by classmates, we don't have to worry too much about money. Ah, found it? Way 11 suddenly stopped and Aika looked both ways. Then he spotted an unexpected person. Abi-san, didn't you go to rest? Oh, it's Aika and Xiao 11. Welcome. Do you have enough money? Abi said hello and extended her hand to Aika. At least give me what you're selling before you say that last sentence. Is this really not a black shop? Aika had this unnecessary worry. Then let me ask again, do you two want to buy anything? Abi's stall seems to mainly focus on crepes, which are delicacies rolled with various foods in thin crusts. Aika has also seen them in the imperial capital. Way 11, which flavor do you want? After all, I bought it for Way 11, so I must know her preferences first. The third option is enough. The third type. Aika looked on the menu in front of the stall and it seemed that a lot of cream was added. Xiao 11 and we made this menu together. Do you want one too? My word. The taste is too sweet and creamy, and I definitely can't stand it. Let's add bacon to the eggs. Don't you want to buy the same flavor as Xiao 11? If you buy the same flavor, I can give you a couple price. You didn't write such a rule here at all. Aika looked at Way 11 quietly, and she seemed to react to Abi's words. If I say here that I don't like cream, Way 11 may be hurt? Is there any suitable reason? I see, if two people buy different flavors, they can taste two flavors. Abi hammered her palm as if she had a sudden realization. Yes, that's right, like. Aika wished she could punish herself by burning herself to death for casually echoing Abi. No problem, just wait a moment. Abi, who succeeded in her conspiracy, covered her mouth and laughed secretly, and began to make Aika and Waxi's crepes. Way 11 held Aika's hand slightly, and it was not difficult to understand the meaning of Abi's words. Aika glanced at her secretly, but her expression was hidden by her long bangs. Let's not think about the future for now. We should first solve the awkward time now. What's more, the two of them were holding hands together and couldn't escape even if they wanted to. Abi, you just said you are not the only one taking care of this place, right? Yes, there's also Zixi. The two of us work separate shifts. You have to come here right after your shift? It's been quite hectic. Of course, this annual festival should be spent to the fullest. Abi did not stop what she was doing. There are other people in our class who have also applied for their own stalls. In fact, everyone is about the same. It is of course very hard for me to consider the time on both sides, and Luoluo, who is responsible for arranging the shift schedule, also has to put more thought into it. It seems like a simple job, but I didn't expect that there are actually so many factors to consider. Okay, you two take it and give me the money. Abi once again reached out to Aika. Okay, okay. As expected. Abby, who took the money from Ika, nodded as if thinking of something. Although other guests are also paid by boys, you give people a slightly different feeling from them. What's different? Ika didn't understand what she was trying to express. Don't worry, don't worry. When you say that, I care even more. Brother Ika, there are other guests. Way 11 beside her gently pulled his hand, and there were indeed other customers queuing up after them. You too, walk slowly. As a result, Abby did not get the answer until the end, and Ika was not prepared to delve into that question. The two came to the pool in the square, where Way 11 sat down with a crepe, and Ika took the opportunity to sit side by side with her. This pool is also one of the more well-known attractions of Shigetsuki Academy, so there are many students around it. Way 11 never took a bite of the crepe in her hand. The same goes for Ika, who walked all the way with it in his hand. It was impossible to maintain this state forever, so Ika could only try to explain it to Way 11. Please. But as soon as he opened his mouth, Way 11 suddenly stretched out her crepe in front of her. No, that's not what I meant. Ika didn't know how to express her thoughts. Way 11 kept her head lowered and didn't seem to be so willing. If you don't want to, there's no need to force it. My original purpose was not like what Abby said. I'm sorry, yes, I misunderstood. After understanding Ika's meaning, Way 11 hurriedly retracted her hand. I understood it like that without permission. It doesn't matter. In fact, I also thought about that aspect. On the surface, it looked like he had rejected Way 11, and Ika felt a little guilty. Brother Ika, have you ever thought about it? Way 11 secretly looked at Ika through her long pure white hair. Then, do you want to have a taste of me? Puff. Way 11 didn't seem to notice the ambiguity in her words. Seeing Ika's exaggerated reaction, she tilted her head in confusion. If you don't hate it, it doesn't matter if you try it. Ika didn't go out of his way to point out Way 11's mistake, otherwise it would get out of control again. But following her words, there was a hint of blushing in the answer. Hearing Ika's answer, Way 11 raised her head happily. Then, exchange. She stretched out her crepe in front of Ika again. After taking Way 11's crepe, Ika also put his share in her hands. It's better not to leave too obvious marks. Ika took a small bite on the edge. It tastes pretty good. The whipped cream was surprisingly not as overwhelming as I thought. Brother Ika. Oh. There were small tooth marks on the edge of the crepe taken back from Way 11. Ika doesn't particularly care about indirect kissing, but he knows that girls are extremely concerned about this kind of behavior, so he thinks about it so much. But Way 11 may not be old enough to care about such things, so she is so defenseless. Ika glanced to her side and met Way 11's eyes secretly looking over here. Yes, I'm sorry. She hurriedly turned her head and covered her cherry-red cheeks with the crepe in her hand. Then I'll start. When Way 11 saw her eating, she had nothing to worry about. Ika made up her mind and took a big bite. Because Way 11 had been watching her, Ika ate in a hurry and had no intention of savoring Abby's craftsmanship. She could only apologize to her in her heart. Eat them all. As expected, Way 11 watched Ika eat them all before feeling relieved. She turned her head and stared at the crepe in her hand. After looking at each other for a long time, he brought it to his mouth with trembling hands. Ika pretended to be looking at the sky, but in fact, she kept paying attention to Way 11's movements from the corner of her eye. Each bite she took was very small, chewing bit by bit like a little squirrel. Although Way 11 would secretly look at Ika from time to time, she didn't notice that he was actually paying attention to her. Way 11 looked very happy holding the crepe. Ika didn't intend to break into her world until she slowly finished eating it. After finishing all the crepes in his hand, Ika turned his head. Wait a moment. He found the tissue from the pocket of his uniform that Logo asked him to keep with him, and helped Way 11 wipe off the white cream from her mouth. Thanks. How is the taste? Delicious. Really? Praise her again in front of Abby. It's almost time to go back. Ika looked at the time on the PDA and saw that this peaceful time was almost over. Please wait a moment. Way 11 pulled Ika's sleeve. How does it taste, to me? It's very, very delicious. Even though he knew it wasn't literal, Ika still couldn't help but think in that direction. Did Way 11 use this term intentionally or unintentionally? Ika was a little confused. Hee, that's great. She let go of Ika's sleeve, then took his hand again and stood up from the edge of the pool. Brother Ika, thank you for staying with me for such a long time. I also want to say thank you. It was really nice hanging out with you. No, it won't happen. It will definitely be troublesome to take me with you. I have never felt like this. I said the same before going to the Tiburai Kingdom. It was a very happy time. Woo. Way 11 embarrassedly covered her cheeks with her hands, not knowing what kind of expression she should show to express her feelings. Thanks. The last thing that came out of my mouth was such a simple thank you.